in the midst of all of the coronavirus chaos that's currently going on, this story slipped under the radar of traditional media. Now, thankfully, it did not slip under the radar of a lot of print media and new media. Senate rejects bid to prevent warrantless government surveillance of internet use. The move to block warrantless surveillance of Americans' web browsing and search data scrambled partisan lines, with 10 Democrats key to its defeat. The Senate on Wednesday narrowly defeated a measure seeking to prevent Americans' internet browsing and search histories from warrantless surveillance by the federal government. The vote was 59 in favor, 37 opposed, short of the necessary 60 votes needed for adoption. Offered as an amendment by Senators Ron Wyden and Steve Daines to the renewal of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, the vote on it was marked by a scrambling of the Senate's partisan divide. Backing the proposal were 34 Democrats, 24 Republicans, and 1 independent. But with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, a prime opponent, voting against it were 27 Republicans and 10 Democrats. Quote, Is it right at this unique time when millions of law-abiding citizens are at home for the government to be able to spy on their internet searches and web browsing without a warrant? Wyden, a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, asked on Wednesday, referring to the coronavirus epidemic. That's exactly what the government has the power to do without our amendment. So, let me give you some of the no votes. No votes: Tom Carpenter of Delaware, Bob Casey of Pennsylvania, Dianne Feinstein of California, Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, Doug Jones of Alabama, Tim Kaine of Virginia, Joe Manchin of West Virginia, usual suspects, Jeanne Shaheen of New Hampshire, Mark Warner of Virginia, and Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island. Those are the people who are totally cool. These are the Democrats who are totally cool with the government spying on your web browsing history. Lovely. Now, 4 senators were absent for the vote. Now remember, they needed 60 votes to stop the government from spying on your web browsing history. They needed 60 votes. They got 59. So one more could have swung it so that the government, to block the government from spying on people's web browsing history. One more vote. Now there's a caveat to that. There's an asterisk to that. So hang on. But 4 senators were absent for the vote. Lamar Alexander, Republican of Tennessee, Ben Sasse, Republican of Nebraska, Bernie Sanders, Independent of Vermont, and Patty Murray, Democrat of Washington. Now, one of them, I forget which one, it's either Lamar Alexander or Ben Sasse. I think it's Lamar Alexander, is quarantining because a member of the staff or something tested positive for COVID. Okay, so that one's got an excuse. I have no idea what Bernie Sanders was doing. I have no idea where he was. He better have a damn good excuse. I'm waiting to hear his damn good excuse as to why he wasn't there. Because, at least on paper, if Bernie was there, he could have stopped the government from spying on people's web browsing histories. But he wasn't there, and so the vote failed with 59 votes. They needed a 60 vote threshold, by the way, and they got 59. One more and we would have had it. Now, I said there was a caveat. I said there was an asterisk. What is that asterisk? It's this. If Bernie was there to vote the right way, it's almost certainly the case that one of the other Democrats who voted the right way would have flipped to vote the wrong way. Almost a guarantee. Because the way that Washington works, it's so gross and it's so scummy that there are these deals that are made where it's like, okay, well, we need this thing to go in this direction, okay? Now, I can permit X number of you to vote the better way on the bill, but we need it to pass, so some of you got to step up to do the dirty work here. So, that's how, and we've seen this time and time again with other pieces of legislation as well. It's like you get a certain number of Democrats who are allowed to make like the proper vote, but that's actually no indication as to whether or not they actually believe in the right position. A lot of them just do it for the virtue signaling points to say, see, I voted the right way on that. But if they really want something to pass, if leadership really needs something to pass, they find the votes. Senate leadership or House leadership will find the votes in their respective chambers, and then they'll allow a certain number of people to break ranks as long as the thing passes. And so if Bernie were to show up, and if Bernie were to vote the right way, it's a virtual guarantee that, you would have had some other person who voted the right way, some other Democrat who voted the right way, flipped to vote the wrong way, and then it still would have been the case that the government's allowed to spy on you. So, but I mean, listen, that's not to excuse Bernie, because really, it's such an important vote that he should be there anyway. Anyway, just in case it's the situation where his vote did swing it and did matter. Again, ultimately, I don't think it would have at all, but he still should have been there to cast the vote because it's pretty important. But who knows? I don't know why he missed. God forbid, knock on wood, you don't want, a worst case scenario to be happening. I hope he's not quarantining for some COVID reasons. But that would be a legitimate excuse if I ever heard it. But I haven't read anything on that front. I'm just saying, he probably should let everybody know, here's why I missed the vote. Anyway, guys, everything's broken. Everything's broken. You have Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats with their faux resistance, and they love to scream on cable news all the time about Trump. They have repeatedly reauthorized the Patriot Act under Trump, and they've repeatedly also expanded his spying powers. I'm not kidding about that. They scream that this guy's a Manchurian candidate and he's a puppet to Vladimir Putin, and then they give him the ability to spy on all Americans. They increase his spying powers. Now we have a situation where they can spy on people's web browsing histories. Not only are they not repealing the Patriot Act or just reauthorizing it as is, they're making it worse as time goes by. You don't have a Fourth Amendment protection anymore from unreasonable search and seizure. Any court that's willing to be even minimally objective would have to strike this stuff down immediately. Because in a protection from unreasonable search and seizure, a plain-faced reading of that is, they can't do an unreasonable search or seizure. Why should they be able to go through the web browsing histories of all Americans? Why should they be able to do that? They shouldn't be able to do that. That's a wanton, gross violation of privacy. It's totally unacceptable, but this is what they do. We have the enablers. We have the people who are willing to give Trump more spying powers. And we have the Democrats who repeatedly gave Trump a massive military budget and increased it to record heights. I mean, it's just totally heartbreaking that even the most basic stuff, even the most minimal stuff to set us on track, we can't even get that done. I mean, this government, this corrupt, stupid, inept government that's totally bought and owned by corporate America, they should have the right, they should have the ability to comb through everybody's internet browsing history. People bring up 1984 as if it's something like, oh man, that's Orwellian. That's like 1984, as if it's like something that will happen in the future. The future? Look around, man. It's right now, and it's absolutely devastating. And of course, this went the wrong way. And shame on everybody who voted the wrong way. And honestly, yes, shame on the ones who didn't show up, even though ultimately it may not have mattered in the end. But this is a perfect example of, how they say, oh my God, the problem with Washington is there's not enough bipartisanship. Bipartisanship, yeah. Actually, no. My take is there's way too much bipartisanship. But as a general rule, 80%, 90% of the time, when they're having a bipartisan agreement in Washington, D.C., it's bipartisan agreement to screw you. And this is a great example of it here.